What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. And we have a very special show for you today. We are live right now on Twitter. We're live on Rockfin. We are live on Rumble. We are live on YouTube, obviously. And I can say legally, e aí, gente, beleza, tudo bem? Because we don't know why, but all of a sudden, Brazil is actually allowed to use X again. We don't know what happened. They say it's because Alexander Moraes decided that Elon had actually fulfilled all the requirements to bring X back to Brazil. But in reality, between you and I, the elections are over. They literally happened on Sunday, and then on like 2 days later, Twitter was back. So I know, right? Fascism, how great. So we got a pretty exciting show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the Grayzone journalist, Jeremy Loffredo, who was kidnapped by Israel, along with 3 other journalists. We're going to be talking about these numbers that are looking kind of scary for the Democrats and for Kamala Harris, specifically in Michigan. But we're also going to be discussing how I can't really tell the difference anymore between Trump and Kamala on like 95% of the issues. And we're going to be talking about this recent clip that came out where Piers Morgan gets exposed. Y'all know, like I said, Piers Morgan appears to be a masochist. And we're also going to be talking about some libertarian stuff, some cool libertarian ideology, or rather how the libertarians are perceiving this race and some of the people that they supported and how they've kind of navigated the race thus far, including people like RFK Jr. And to have that discussion, I have a very special guest for you guys. Some of you all may know him from his gubernatorial race. Some of you all may know him from his show, The Sharpe Way, which, by the way, Larry, that kind of sounds like a threat. I don't know if you want to amend that name, but some of you may know him as an activist and an organizer. He is that and everything else. Welcome to the show, everybody. Larry Sharpe. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yes, the Sharpe Way is a direct threat. It is. It totally is. No, I'm kidding. Yes.
Like
my way or the Sharpe Way. That's it. Exactly.
So that sounded so welcoming. Your show sounds like I'm gonna cut you if you don't like listen to what I have to say.
It's my way or the Sharpe Way. That's all there is. There's no 2 ways. Exactly right.
Take one. I hear that, man. How are you doing, man?
I am doing okay. Not too bad. Trying to make the world a better place. I keep trying. I keep failing, but I keep trying. So I'm either stupid or stubborn or both or something.
Well, as long as you're still trying, you can't be failing. Technically speaking, you can't fail if you're still in the process, right?
That's true.
There
you go.
You know.
So I'm still going.
Even though we all need our breaks,
and we'll see if I won or not.
Hey, amen to that. So we right now you're in New York, right?
I am.
So you're in New York State or city?
I'm in the city. I live in Queens.
Oh, okay. You live in Queens. What's your read out there as far as just the general politics of the country are concerned? I know New York is kind of a blue city, obviously, but I know that even in blue areas or what would be normally staunchly red areas, people's opinions overall of the political landscape have been shifting from party loyalty to independence. Is that what you've seen in Queens as well?
Absolutely. But the biggest issue is everybody's unhappy. That's the problem, right? Everybody's unhappy. And we've been told for so long that the other is evil that we don't have an option, right? So if I've been told if I live in a blue dot in New York State, or if I live in a red area outside in New York City, either one, I've been told the opposite is bad, right? If I live in one of the red counties in New York State, I've been told Democrats are evil, Democrats are horrible, they're all the worst ever, they're going to destroy the entire country, the world. If I live in New York City, Trump is evil, Trump's going to destroy the world, he's going to kill everybody, World War III. I've been told that for decades now. But now I know my people suck too. So my people suck, but they're going to end the world.
I'm assuming you're referring to libertarians.
No, I'm saying anybody people who do it, they suck. It doesn't matter, right?
Got you.
So if I'm a Democrat, my people suck because they're not doing anything. If I'm libertarian, my people suck because we can't win anything. If I'm a Republican, my people suck because we can't do anything. So I know my people suck. But then what's the opposite? The opposite side is evil. So now I'm in a bad spot. I have to accept terribleness or go evil or just check out or try to find somebody independent, which is what your entire point was. The reason why this is the movement for the independent party is people have recognized that their side sucks and the other side's evil, no matter where you are. That's the problem. So what do? Well, one thing is if you're privileged and things are going well for you, you don't really care, right? If I live in New York City and I'm doing well and life is good, I don't care if things don't change. Good. I'll just vote Harris because everyone in my city votes Harris. So life is good. I'm going to keep making my money, going on vacation, keep my family happy. I'm good. The problem is when you're not good, right? Most of the people that you see who are so happy and so like, this is great. And it's the people who say the grandiose things like democracy is on the line. These are all privileged people. These are all because I don't actually have any democracy, and the average person doesn't have any. They do because democracy right now in America is based upon how much money you can give to somebody. So if you don't have any money, you don't have democracy, right?
Now, and I would make an argument that it's not only how much money you're giving to somebody, but who you get your money from. That's
correct.
That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, it's leverage. Correct. If you don't have leverage, you have nothing. You don't have democracy, right? So I don't have democracy, right? Where I am in my city, and I tell people this all the time. My city, state, and federal representatives are all solid blue Democrats, all members of the DSA, and we don't have open primaries. So if I'm not a Democrat, I cannot vote. Literally, I have no say in my government, state, city, federal. No say at all. It doesn't matter what I think. I have to hope for a good king or queen. That's all I have to do because I have no say.
City, not the local elections. The local elections you can vote in.
It's non-partisan. It's still partisan.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I voted in New York though. How did I vote?
And the general election.
I didn't vote in New York. I didn't vote in New York primaries. I actually voted in North Carolina primaries. Correct. I forgot.
And that's the point. To be able to vote. Look, can I vote in a general election? Yes, but it has no power because Democrat always wins. So the actual election is the primary. That's the actual election. In fact, in my state level, Republicans don't even bother running anybody anymore. They run unopposed.
Wow.
They don't bother running because they can't raise the money. That's happening across the country, though. Nebraska, it's happening right now with Dan Osborne. Dan Osborne is an independent. He's running as Republican. Democrats did not run a senatorial candidate. Let me say it again. They did not run a Senate for the U.S., not Nebraska Senate, the United States Senate. Democrats did not run a candidate in Nebraska because they can't win. They can't raise money. He did it in 2022 in Utah. Again, Democrats did not even bother running a candidate. So
that's crazy. That's crazy because Democrats have actually been known to. So if they see an independent coming from out of left field, they will run just to make sure that that independent doesn't win, even if they know they can't win. Usually,
that has changed. That's the point. What you're saying, I'm validating what you just said, because right now, independent and back in there was a chance that Mike Lee, a very popular senator from Utah in 2022, there was a chance he was going to lose. He didn't miss a chance. Right now, there's a chance Deb Fischer might lose. She's a Republican incumbent in Nebraska. She might lose. That was exactly to your point. That was unheard of 10 years ago. That would have never happened 10 years ago. 5 years ago, it wouldn't have happened. Never. Now it's becoming more and more the norm. It's happening that way. So it is happening. Look, it's slow. It's not tomorrow, but it is happening. I think it is because people like me are saying, I literally don't have democracy. Your fighting for democracy argument doesn't scare me. I don't have it now.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I say people, they're like, oh, democracy's on the line. First of all, let's be clear about something, ladies and gentlemen. You can't say democracy's on the line when your candidate didn't gain a single vote to get to the position she's at as it is. So you can't really make that argument. Yep. I just feel like when I have family that not that many, most of my family actually just listens to me and they're like, whatever Niko says. It took a while to get there, but they trust me now. But I got a couple of the old heads, the hard-headed ones, California, of course. Right, of course. My New York family, they listen to me, but I got a couple of California old heads. They're like, democracy is something. First of all, you live in California, like you said, Larry. You ain't got democracy in California. I don't know why you pretend like you have one. Yep. Even if you wanted to vote Republican, you're trying to convince everybody else around the world to agree with you. And it feels like oftentimes when it comes to New York and California, because those are the most rabid, it seems to me, that like they're projecting and they're upset because they're trying to convince everyone to do what they're doing because they don't have an option. It's almost as if they're overcompensating.
I'm going to go even further than that. They even throw off independent candidates off the ballot, and people don't know. So people say things all the time like, "Well, Larry, I'd vote for you libertarians if you run some candidates." We try. We get sued off the ballot. Literally, this is 2022's true story. I spent $400,000 trying to get in the ballot and got sued off by Republicans. And they sued me off the ballot. I couldn't do it with $400,000. Now,
damn, it was the Republicans that got you?
Yes. 2020, the Democrats got rid of me.
Did y'all hear that?
2022, the Republicans got rid of me.
Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Both.
Yes.
Not one, not two, but both.
That's correct. They both happily got rid of me. They didn't care. Here's the worst part, though. The Republicans got rid of me in 2022, but then here comes RFK Jr. in 2024. Now, I raised $400,000. He spent over $1 million.
Yeah.
He got 3 times the signatures I got, and Democrats threw him off the ballot.
Yeah, they actually changed the rules in New York last minute without telling anybody. I remember that. Jill Stein encountered that same issue. And that's what made it so hard for her to actually get onto the New York ballot.
The Greens and Libertarians, we sue together. The Greens and Libertarians, we sue together. We're on the same.
Oh, wow.
We sue together. Me and Howie Hawkins been the same together. Me and Jill Stein been together. And not just that, Diane Sayer, she's also running in New York State. Me and her been in the same courtroom together. All the independents join together when it comes to getting on the ballot because they screw us all equally.
Yeah, well, and like I said, the Uniparty joins together when it's time to screw independents because they're not about to give us better options. We're going to discuss a little bit later on and show a little bit later on as we're getting closer and closer to the election. We're almost 3 weeks out, more or less,
about 3.5 weeks.
It's getting harder to tell the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Honestly, they're both, I take my glasses off and they start to look a little bit like Nikki Haley, both of them, right? That's what we're getting at right now. But I want to switch gears really quick because it's a really important topic. So for those of you who may not know, there's a journalist from the Grayzone who is actually being held hostage by Israel right now. It's been reported that Jeremy, hold on, let me make sure that everybody can see this. Cool, everybody can see this. Jeremy Loffredo was among the journalists arrested by the Israeli military and is still in jail. His phone's been confiscated, and that's all Max was able to say so far. There hasn't been big updates about this. This is another journalist, Andre X, who was part of the journalists who were arrested. Today I was beaten, kidnapped, blindfolded, and taken to a military base by the Israeli occupation forces together with 4 other journalists. 2 of us were held for 11 hours without charges. My phone was stolen rather. And one of us is still in custody, referring to Jeremy. For those of you who don't know, Jeremy has done amazing work exposing Israel and their lies and propaganda since October 7th. He's done other work too. I believe that he's one of the journalists that has done a lot of work in Maui as well. So Jeremy's done some amazing work in the Grayzone, as you all know. In general, have done amazing work. But this is extremely problematic for a number of reasons. Larry, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I don't know if you saw that interview that Kamala did. I believe it was with 60 Minutes a couple of days ago. You know what she said about Iran? She was saying that Iran's one of the biggest threats. Do you know why she said? No, she said is the great. Do you know why what she premised that statement with? She said because it's American blood. She said Iran has American blood on their hands. Like that's the red line. That's what should cause us, or should be a call to arms rather. Israel has American blood on their hands. First of all, that's like a confirmed fact. But also
USS Liberty. USS Liberty. They bombed. They sank the Liberty.
Oh yeah, there's that. But even more, just recently, whether it be Palestinian Americans, whether it be volunteers that have volunteered there since October 7th, volunteers and activists before October 7th, but in this particular case, she just said a couple of days ago, like Iran's a problem because of their engagement with Americans and because they persecute Americans. And in this situation, with at least 2 of the journalists are American, one of them still being held, and nothing.
Why are you shocked? I'm not shocked. Israel does this constantly. This is a common thing. I'm not shocked. This is like another Thursday, man. I don't know. I don't mean to be flippant, but I'm just telling the truth. They will do as they see fit, and we will back them no matter what they do. I was just on a show and somebody was mad at me when I was saying, look, we should help. And this is very controversial, may make your audience unhappy, but see where I'm going with this. I said we should help the Gazans leave Gaza. Let the Israelis have it. Walk away. Bribe Egypt. Stop giving $100
Good luck with
billion
that one.
to Ukraine and give $100 billion to Egypt to pay off their debt and let them take the Gazans in and give it. And people are like, but it's their land. I said, yeah, but here's the problem that people aren't getting. Gaza is going to be bombed no matter who the president is. Israelis are going to bomb Gaza no matter who the president is. Gazans are going to suffer no matter who the president is. We are going to back Israel no matter what. And that sounds horrible, but that is what is going to happen. So I'm like, I have two choices. I can let the Gazans who've been suffering for decades there continue to suffer and die, or I can move them, and that will suck, and that's terrible. But I have two choices. I can virtue signal, or I can save Gazans. And I know people don't like it.
So here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. That already has been discussed. Egypt rejected it. They've already tried to bribe Egypt. The United States tried to bribe Egypt, and Israel tried to bribe Egypt. They tried to bribe Egypt within the first couple of weeks of October 7th happening. Egypt rejected it, and there's a reason for that. And it's because I don't know if you know, I went to Egypt maybe 3 months after October 7th, 3 or 4 months after October 7th. And you wouldn't know unless you've actually been, but Egypt is a victim of basically all of the problems caused by either Israel or the United States.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm just trying to say I got horrible options. But what I'm saying is it wouldn't, like, for them, they have hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees because of the war in Syria. They have Somali refugees. They still have tens of thousands of Iraqi refugees because of the problems we caused there. I didn't know that. They took Iraqi refugees. I didn't know that.
They did. A lot of them. I mean, look, I'm a foreign policy guy. I didn't know about this stuff either. I saw it because I went to a refugee school there. Like, we went to help refugees for the Palestinians, but we went to a separate school that was full of Syrian refugees. They have a whole community there. Like, it's like just Syrians, and they have just Iraqis and just some. I'm like, what the hell? How is this not discussed more? And people don't know. Because it happens so often, first of all, and it's so constant and continuous. The involvement that we have with these African countries and these Middle Eastern countries, that, like, when would you even think that it's a big enough deal to check into it? Because it's just
you're right.
So they don't even have the circumstances or the resources at this point to take 2 million Palestinians. They can't do it. And it's not really, I mean, outside of the fact, obviously, like you said, morally, it's not right for them to be asked to leave their home. But
it's wrong. I'm not fighting the moral. This is not a moral battle.
I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, but even pragmatically, it's not realistic, and there's not anybody that would be able to do it. If anything, I would probably make the argument, just from a debate perspective. Sure. If Israelis want to survive, it's them who needs to get the hell up on out of there. And these NATO and Western powers need to figure out how they're going to accept the Israelis. Because at the end of the day, you're correct. There will be a continued bombing campaign. There will be a continued apartheid. There will be a continued genocide. However, there is a caveat. That caveat is now Iran. That was the case until y'all pissed off Iran and pushed them over the edge. That was the case before Russia offered Palestine a spot in BRICS. Personally, Putin personally invited them. In fact, I believe it's October 27th is the summit.
I remember this. My worry is this, though, Niko. Let me give you pushback if I could.
Mm-hmm.
The issue right now is, if Ukraine war ends soon, I agree with you, because then all of those people in Russia, all of those mercenaries, trained Russians, all that equipment, all that stuff can be shipped someplace else. I would agree with you. If the Ukraine war keeps going, I don't think the Russians can do both. They can only fight. I don't think they can fight both wars realistically. That's my issue. I don't think
you can when Iran is the other. So it's different if you're the principal fighter. If you're the principal adversary of Israel in that particular instance, that wouldn't be the case, though. It would be Iran's war, and Russia would be backing them. You get what I'm saying? It would be probably Iran, Syria, Lebanon. I know I'm forgetting somebody. I know I'm forgetting a couple countries, but Iraq probably.
Well, here's what I would say. This is the thing I do agree with you, though. This is the thing. If Turkey steps up, because Turkey has,
that's what it is. That's what I'm thinking about.
Turkey is the exception. If Turkey actually moves in, the Israelis have to back down, or America's going to get involved, one or the other. And that's my other worry. My worry is, if this happens the way you're saying it's happening, I know people just want to jump up and down, but I'm just being forward. I think America will physically jump in. I think
They've
there's
already
nothing
physically
Israel
jumped
can
in.
do that U.S. will not back. I think whatever Israel does, and I'm not for this. I mean, very clear, I am not for this. I'm just being forward. I think America will literally drop Marines into Lebanon again if need
Yeah,
be.
nobody's going to argue with you with that. That's 100%. They've already done it. It's already happened.
Yes.
I know for a fact it's already happened. I know people who've already deployed to Lebanon. All right, no. So it's you're absolutely right. But I personally, because of how far we've already come. So people, you have to remember this recent attack from Iran into Israel. It seemingly came out of nowhere. It wasn't like Iran woke up one day and was just like, I'm just going to bomb. No, they actually the reason it had taken so long is because Iran wanted to make sure they exercised every single step to make sure that the world would or would not hold Israel accountable for what they did in assassinating their generals while they were at that meeting in Syria. They waited and waited and waited and waited and went through all the steps. And the UN didn't want to do anything. Obviously, the West didn't want to do anything. No one wanted to hold Israel accountable. And Iran said, fuck it. We'll take it into our own hands then. Thank you. We just want to make sure so nobody can complain after. We do kind of like the same thing Russia did with Ukraine to some degree. So because they did all of that and decided, yep, we're gonna have to blow y'all up now. I don't see where we go back from that. I don't see how we reverse course, because that was a deliberate move that Israel wasn't expecting. And so I agree with you. The U.S. is going to get more involved because that's just what they do. But the problem is, I don't see a world where that doesn't happen anymore. They're too far gone. They should have held Israel accountable. They should have got rid of Netanyahu a long time ago. You know, there are a lot of insane leaders in Israel, in the history of Israel. I would probably put Netanyahu at the top, because he doesn't even care about Israelis. That's the difference between him and the rest of those crazy leaders. I wanted to show you something really quick and show the audience something.
Please.
So this is regarding journalists in Israel. From October 7th, by October 16th, they had already killed 11 Palestinian journalists in Gaza. Okay, that's a lot, guys. I don't know if y'all understand that. Journalists are not supposed to be targeted in any war, any genocide, any situation. I remember I was seeing videos from Gaza on TikTok and on Twitter where they had press on, but usually wearing a press vest would protect you to some degree, right? Obviously, if a bomb goes off and they don't know you're there, it's like nothing they can do. However, the press wearing that vest actually put a target on your back, and not only yours, but a target on your family's back as well. So that was just a few days after October 11th. And then let me show you what happened just a couple months after that. And this is according to the ICJ. "75% of all journalists killed in 2023 died in Gaza war, per the CPJ. Nearly 100 journalists and media workers were killed."
This is why when you told me that these guys are detained, I was like, another Thursday. I was with you. I was like, another Thursday. Yeah, okay. I'm glad they're not dead. I'm like,
That's what I
yeah,
said.
you only put them in jail and beat them. Wow. That's a good day. They only got in jail and got beaten. Good day.
Comparatively, because I was genuinely, I was like, holy shit, what do they mean? You don't get arrested as a journalist in Israel.
Oh, you get killed. You get killed. Yes.
That's the first thing I thought, bro. I was like,
Yes.
oh no. I'm honestly, I would have recommend, first of all, let me just say, as a journalist, I applaud all of them for their bravery, because
100%.
if you chose to go there, you knew what the possibility, you could be killed. You knew that off the rip. There was no U.S. passport. No passport from any country is going to protect you. That's already been established. Israelis aren't even protected from Israel. So that's already been well established. However, personally, man, I would have probably said, wait, or not, don't do it. Don't go. Just because
you have a comment that says more journalists than 20 years of Vietnam. That sounds crazy to me.
That's crazy.
I want him to be wrong. I don't want to believe that. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying that sounds horrible. I want him to be wrong. That's terrible.
I mean, they killed more kids in a couple of months than they killed in the entirety of the war in Ukraine. Didn't have been killed in total in the entirety of war in Ukraine. And that was at the beginning. So it's not surprising, but it is scary to me that journalists, because it's when you're a journalist, you know the risk that you're taking. We know, hell, being an activist, being an organizer, you know, Larry, especially being in New York, because that's a belly of the beast type of state, guys, because of how blue it is, and then the little bit of territory that the red has, they're trying to protect it. So it's a risk.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
you know it's a risk for you. It's not supposed to be a risk for your family.
Right, exactly. Yes, correct. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not supposed to be worried about my wife and kids getting bombed while I'm out trying to take pictures.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's what's been happening out there in Israel. We got a super chat.
It's funny you bring it up. When I ran in 2022, I had to call the cops to my house.
Wow.
I had to call
really?
People outside my house. Yes.
For what?
They did not want me running. They did not.
There was people just outside of your house?
Yes. Had to call the cops over. Yes.
That's wild. That's also impressive. I'm not gonna lie to you. That means you were pretty serious candidate. That's what that says to me.
I was polling at 6%, man, as a libertarian in New York State, polling at 6%. That's crazy.
Well, that's because you got some God-given sense, man. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been at your show. I've watched the show. I'm like, it's not like Larry doesn't go around saying a bunch of crazy stuff. He's kind of like, just, can we just not be idiots, guys? That's kind of his.
I just don't want people to die. Like, I'm like, don't die. That's what I want. I want to do the thing that makes less people die. That's what I want to do. That's
Amen to
my
that.
thing.
We got a super chat. Shout out to Sparky. It will be interesting to see what changes in the dynamics in the Middle East after October 25th BRICS meeting. Many BRICS nations likely hold off involvement with Palestine until after this meeting. Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think that. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Larry.
The other issue you got to worry about is, are the BRICS actually going to come up with their own money, or they're just going to keep doing what they're doing now, right? What they're doing now is they're simply allowing more trade in native currencies. So now you can have more trades in the Chinese renminbi and more trade in the Russian ruble, which is good for them. It kind of neuters the de-dollarization, right? It neuters that. It makes America's sanctions not as powerful. So they do some of that. But the concept was to create their own dollar or their own currency called the BRIC. And the BRIC would be based on gold, not backed by gold, but linked to the gold, the price of gold. That's what the idea was. If they do that, that may change a lot. If not, it'll be minor changes.
So funny that you brought that up. I was actually reading about this because of the very conversation that we're having right now. This is what it's looking like as far as the currency is concerned. And to be completely honest with you, I was also looking at it because I wanted to know how it could potentially affect Bitcoin.
Yes. But they're not what RFK Jr. wanted to do was he wanted to back the dollar by both hard assets, gold, and also Bitcoin. He wanted to back it by both. BRICS is not doing that. BRICS is not backing it with that. BRICS is backing the same way our is still fiat, right? Our dollar is fiat currency. The BRIC would still be fiat
for the time being,
but it would be linked directly to on gold, which ours is linked to nothing except our military, our aircraft carriers.
No, ours is linked to petroleum. Or rather, it's linked to everyone else's ability to compete with oil sales, I should say.
Yes, but Saudis joining BRICS.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's a big. So this article is talking about. The title is "What to Expect from the BRICS October Summit: New Currency Announcement and Next Phase of Global Monetary Reset." BRICS central banks boosting gold reserves is a sign that they are gearing up for a global monetary reset, which could enter a new phase following BRICS Summit October 22nd through the 24th, taking place in Kazan, Russia, according to John Forrest Little, founder and director of Content for Civil Academy. They're gearing up for this reset coming in October. Little tells Michelle McQuarrie, lead anchor and editor-in-chief for Kitco News. There will be so much turmoil during this transition. That's happening. There is going to be turmoil during that transition. I was kind of expecting that to happen, but I think that everybody kind of knew, like, if there was no way we're going to uproot this empire, anybody, without some type of turmoil. But it's mostly going to be turmoil. But for the global South, not really. I mean, is it going to be turmoil for them? Is it going to be tumultuous for them? Because they're like, we've been getting screwed by being attached to the dollar. We can't compete because of petroleum. And then whenever, it's attached to petroleum, then y'all steal our petroleum. We would be able to use gold in exchange that, our gold rather, and exchange that for dollars. Can't do that, right?
The issue that they have to worry about here is will for the global South, as long as they can still move their goods, do they really care if it's in yuan, if it's in renminbi, if it's in rubles?
No, they won't.
They don't really care as long as they can move their goods. But the only issue that you have to worry about is China is starting to try to become like the IMF when it comes to debt.
Yeah,
Russia
they are.
is not doing that, right?
That is
Russia's
true.
not doing that. China is. And if China becomes another IMF, the global South is still screwed.
They're not as predatory. However, I've always made this caveat with China with my friends who love China. I say that's all well and good. I gotta admit, like, it's better than going and blowing up people you don't like who don't want to do business with you and stealing everything. However, we can't ignore the fact that they're benefiting from the fear of the Western Empire. It's like, hey, you can do a bilateral monetary arrangement with us where you get some benefit, right? Not necessarily all the benefits that you would in a true bilateral negotiation. However, the other option is, or we let the US come in here or NATO come in here and fuck y'all up. And they're just gonna take everything. And I don't feel like that's fair. I don't feel like that's setting up other countries for success. I don't feel like that's respecting their autonomy.
It's why Russia is in West Africa right now. Right? Russia's in the America used to be in West Africa, and so were the French. The French Foreign Legion was one of the biggest issues in West Africa, right? They all got thrown out because they kept trying to colonize all of them. And these people are trying to create their own group. The Russians came in and said, we just want money and resources. You can do whatever you want. And they went, oh, we like you better. And they brought the Wagner group in. The Wagner group left Ukraine and went to Western Africa because the Russians said, all we want is money. We'll run security for you. Give us resources and money, and we'll just do a trade. We don't care.
They just wanted to make sure that NATO didn't have control. That's all they wanted,
Correct.
like to make sure NATO can't have control.
They didn't care. They just said, we don't care about your politics. Just get NATO out. We'll do the work they should do without any political pressure. And they went, good deal. And they threw the French out and the Americans out. That's what actually happened. And that's my issue with a lot of the global South is China is in there, but China isn't using violence, but they are using economics as a battle. The Russians are not.
Mm-hmm. They're cornering. There's a predatory nature, and they're cornering countries that don't feel like they have a choice. Right? If you haven't already been approached by Russia, because like you said, so I covered this story for Hotspot. People didn't know, but basically the United States was paying because Burkina Faso was one of the African countries that took their country back from the French recently, and Burkina Faso had a bunch of terrorists that just showed up out of nowhere. It always happens, right? That the United States and NATO were funding and the French were funding. And so even though they were doing a pretty good job defending themselves, the Wagner group did show up and started putting it on them. And then somehow the Ukraine showed up there to start training the terrorists. And it's like, what? Who does that? Because we need everybody to understand that doesn't benefit Ukraine, actually. For those who might think it does not. There's no reason for Ukraine to be there. They barely got enough men to get through the next few months. You can't afford to be sending nobody, no resources, no nothing into another country, let alone making enemies where you shouldn't be making them. When you are like, whenever the West has basically kind of abandoned you, like they keep pretending like you have a chance to win this war and like they support you, but really they keep denying you from joining NATO because they're not going to fucking let you join NATO. They know better. So who does that benefit? It benefits NATO. Burkina Faso being unstable and being and potentially being put in a position where they're vulnerable to regime change again benefits NATO, and specifically hurts BRICS potentially because they want to make sure that NATO. Go ahead.
I'll go one step further here. While the Ukraine-Russian war is a horrible war, I wish it was not going on. In one way, it's helping Russia tremendously. In one way, it is giving them trained people who know how to fight, who now can go overseas and train. NATO training is no longer valid compared to Russian training. NATO people haven't been in battle. They don't know how to fight. Americans know how to fight.
Not really. Not real fight. Not like where the odds are actually even.
Correct. Yes. Now, Americans know how to fight when it comes to insurgencies in the Middle East. But most of the people who are doing the actual fighting in Africa, they would rather have Russians than 100%. NATO. So that's why they're throwing NATO out. And they're bringing Russians in because these guys, and again, if you're a Russian, you get paid maybe $2,000 a month, maybe, which is still good in Russia. But now you want Wagner to pay you, or you want some country to pay you? That's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Of course you're going to go there. And you're probably not going to die because you're training. In Russia, you was going to die fighting in Ukraine. You might actually get your legs blown off. You go to somebody like that, you're training people to die.
you might not come back. It's true.
Yes. You go to Africa, you're training people to. You're not. Doing
they might switch sides. They might switch sides. Hey, like I just need a plane ticket, man. I'm with you guys.
Absolutely. Look, I'll tell you the truth. When I got out of the Marine Corps in the 90s, I considered at that point there was still fighting going on in Angola when I got out. I was considering going to become a mercenary trainer in Angola.
That's so crazy that you bring that up because people, I talk about that, like the 90s and how the Marines and Special Forces were in Africa, Angola, Libya all the time. But I don't really have anybody old enough on my show that was part of the military that could verify. But yeah, my uncle was in Libya. He brought back.
I was going to go to Angola.
Wow, that's crazy.
I was going to go to Angola. I changed my mind last minute, but I was going to go to Angola. That was the thing happening. We were going everywhere, and now I got buddies who are younger than me that they did 4 years in the Marine Corps in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then the Korean list or Blackwater would pay them $80,000 a year to go back as a contractor.
Yep.
So to leave the Marine Corps and go back as a contractor.
To do less. To do less.
Do less for more. Do less for
more. That was the game. I mean, I was in until 2012, and that was the game. You do if you were older, obviously you retire, you finish your last 6 years and then you retire and go to Blackwater. But if you were in the beginning of your career and you were infantry, or especially communications and intelligence, you do your 3 to 4 years, and Blackwater would pay you some contractor would pay you $85,000 starting out. And it was going up, every year guaranteed. And you can get a second retirement if you wanted to. So but once again, like you said, the difference between what we see Russia doing with Ukraine versus what the United States has done in Africa and the Middle East is like Russia's actually fighting a war, and they're fighting a war tactically because we know Russia could actually wipe Ukraine off the face of the planet. They could. They could do what Israel's effectively doing in Gaza right now. They could. They're not doing it because they actually value lives, even the ones that they're fighting. They don't want to just kill innocent civilians. So instead of just doing a carpet bombing campaign, they're fighting tactically.
I don't know. They're doing a lot of bombing, man. I'm not sure about that.
Comparatively, though,
they're using flamethrower. They're using flamethrower bombs. They're using massive bombs. The Russians are blowing the shit out of every single town and village they take. They're capturing rubble.
No, they're not. They're capturing rubble. Haven't captured, or they haven't bombed as much as people thought they have. Or really, some people thought they should do more, but they haven't. They've taken prisoners. They've taken, because a lot of Ukrainians like, yeah, damn, fuck this. We're not about to deal with these people. Because some of them don't want to fight because they have Russian family members. They are in effect Russian. So there's that. But there are not as many civilian casualties because of Russia as there could and maybe even should be, because there are warnings that are given in advance. They allow people to escape. They allow people to turn themselves in, and they actually have soldiers.
Okay, you're saying okay, yes, okay. They are bombing the shit out of the place, but you're saying they're allowing civilians to leave. Yes, that's true. Yeah. Okay, I misunderstood you.
Civilians to leave, and and because the truth is, unlike Gaza, unfortunately, the Ukrainian civilians are allowed to leave and go to other countries. So there's a whole different dynamic there at play. But the truth is, Russia is prepared to fight a real war. The United States, I mean, I've been in the military. I have family in the military. Like, I got friends still in the military. They will all tell you, we're not ready to go to war with Iran. We're not ready to go to war with Iran or Russia, especially both of them, especially when Putin had the audacity. I mean, when you could come out and say, I don't know if you watched that. Did you watch that interview with Tucker Carlson where he said, yeah, we haven't even used our actual military tech yet. Like the new stuff, the stuff that can really put y'all on y'all ass, y'all haven't even seen yet. We're using old artillery and old military tech, and we're giving our old stuff away to other countries too. So it's like, how bold you have to be to say something like that, like that. But it lets us know, because
they do have an advantage. Again, they have an advantage, which is they have 4 countries. What they call what's the axis of upheaval is called in the intelligence community. It is Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. And the advantage of those 4 is they all use the same armaments. So they can all rotate armaments between each other. They can also build armaments for each other. That's the NATO of the opposite side, right? They can all build armaments for each other and ship, and they have stronger industrial bases.
They
They
do.
can actually build faster. And sadly, for North Korea, they just have slave labor, which is terrible. But at least the other countries are having that. So, but they can do that if they want to. Countries like Syria are broken, so that the odds of them actually being able to send troops are pretty slim. However, can they create a pipeline? 100%. Can they build things? 100%. Syria can do that. But the country's been broken from the war. Turkey, the other thing that is a big deal in that regard, Turkey hasn't really taken a side yet. Turkey could swap either side. Turkey could go NATO, Turkey could go anti-NATO. It doesn't matter. Erdogan is about Erdogan.
They've been anti-NATO lately. They've been more.
Yes.
Actually, I was reading an article where it's saying that there might not be any choice left but for Turkey to actually leave NATO because they've been on the opposite sides of every discussion for the last 3 or 4
100%.
years.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. They can go either way, right? They can go either way. And Turkey is a serious military. Turkey has, and they've been fighting wars. Like they have a experienced bloody military, which a lot of countries don't have. And they have a massive population, what, 80, 90 million, something like that, whatever, 100 million, whatever they have. I think 80 million, whatever. They have a massive population, and they have a bloodied army. I mean, they're no joke.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, their military was able to prevent 2 coups in 4 or 5 years. That's hard to do, guys. I mean, to be honest,
that's what the military does. The military does that. Since Ataturk. Back in 1920, I think 1920, Ataturk, the military has kept the Ottoman crazy people, whatever, right? The Muslim extremists have kept them in line in general. But Erdogan did something very special. And what Erdogan did was Erdogan mixed them together for the first time since the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. And that's why he's so powerful. He's combined them both. So people are teasing me in your chat saying the U.S. has slave labor. It has prison labor, yes. However, it's not as bad as North Korea. That you cannot compare North Korea to United States.
So I will make the argument that we actually don't really know what's as bad as or as good as North Korea because they have an embargo of information that we can't really tell. So I remember growing up, for example. Say that again.
We have tons of people who've escaped who've told us.
No, there's not tons of people who've escaped. There's one girl who came out and who allegedly escaped North Korea. And she spoke perfect English in like 2 days when she went to the UN, which is like the opposite of what we were told. We were told they don't learn in North Korea, but and all her story wasn't adding up. And
you can talk to American teachers who've gone to North Korea and taught North Korea.
So I have taught. So for full disclosure, everybody, I went to a Korean church for 10 years. So I actually do know professors.
Perfect.
I know professors who've gone there and say, actually, they're not that North Korea is perfect, but it's like, no, y'all definitely have more problems. So, for example, they have free healthcare in North Korea, and they actually don't have any problem with it. There are Americans who have freely traveled to North Korea and traveled back, didn't have any issues. We can't say like there's slave labor. I can't confirm or deny how good the payment system is comparatively.
Hold on. There's no doubt that Americans propagandize how bad North Korea is. No question. I'm not going to argue with that at all. But to say that and that American prison is absolutely horrible and embarrassment, and that our justice system is not a justice system, 100% true. But are we going to? I hope we're not saying that North Korea. Well, it's not that bad. You can live there or live in America. I hope we're not saying that. Because if I have a choice, I'm going to live in America. And I would bet the vast majority of North Koreans, if they have a choice, not the elites, obviously, but the average would rather live in America. I mean,
I would probably say that right? I will say that we won't know. We don't know until we actually have a fair exchange of information between both sides, because people thought for example, I'll give you the best example I could think of with Cuba. The Cuban embargo, especially at the beginning, was not just an embargo of economics, was an embargo of information. So, for example, if you were learning, if you were taking Latin American studies at a college, for example, you weren't allowed to learn about the United States history before Kennedy, before Fidel, when in regards to Cuba. And the reason why is because you might learn something like, for example, Batista, that the president that we were propping up was considered a communist. And despite the fact that we supposedly had all this beef with Cuba because it was a communist country. So the circle wasn't fitting in the square. And then you start to find out, he was propped up by the United States. Well, that's weird. So you go back a little bit further and you start to figure out, oh shit, well, if Fidel was so bad, why did he desegregate Cuba before the United States was desegregated? Why was he fighting on the side of Nelson Mandela while the United States was fighting on the side, sending troops to fight on the side to maintain the apartheid? And we didn't find out a lot of that stuff until, at least people from my generation didn't find out a lot of that until the embargo loosened up. Professors and academics from Cuba were allowed to come here, and vice versa, and journalists and academics were allowed to go there. And then the truth starts to come out. We find out that so it's, I feel like it's we don't know enough to make that judgment call. I could see why people would reactionarily say, "Oh, I wouldn't want to live in North Korea." We don't know. There are a lot of things about Brazil that people believe that are not true. Like there's just a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
All I'm going to say is I'm in no way going to say America's perfect. It's absolutely broken in so many ways. Never. But I'm not moving to North Korea. That's what I'll say. How about that? I'll leave it at that. I'm not moving to North Korea. I wouldn't move to a place that I didn't know anything about either. Yeah,
like when it comes down to, I wouldn't. I'll tell you this: if I had the option to not stay in America, I wouldn't stay there. So, and I can say that with 100% fact.
You've done that. Oh yes,
exactly. That's my point. Yeah,
you've done that.
But if I had I never got the opportunity just because it was like a time thing. I had the opportunity to go to North Korea and South Korea, but I just didn't have the time to go do it because family stuff came up. But there's not been anybody that I've known that has gone to North Korea who like hated it, like they had a problem with it. There are even YouTubers that go around blogging about it. Like these white guys are just like, oh shit, we thought this was horrible. It's not that bad. So it's it's like it's kind of how I feel about like mainland China. I feel like there are problems there because I don't believe that like media should be centralized and things like that. But we can't deny how they've pulled the majority of their population out of poverty. So like, and there are a lot of benefits there. So like, it's
wrong. I've been in China before. I lived in Asia for 4 years.
That's dope.
Yep.
Oh, let me check out the super chat real quick. Far more Christian than typical Christian Zionists are. Christian Zionists are cucks. Cuckoldery. That's the weirdest shit ever, man. They'd be spitting on. Have you seen the videos where you got the Israelis spitting on Christians that come to Israel, and then you got rabbis who justify it?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. The U.S. has been de-industrialized for decades now.
Yeah.
Most millennials and Zoomers can't even hammer a nail or know one end of a screwdriver from the other, except for some in the military and vets, of course. Yeah, that's for damn sure.
No,
it's kind of scary how much it's been deindustrialized, and it just kind of that started in the 90s.
It probably actually about the 90s is when it really started to hit hard. The 90s when it hit hard after NAFTA. NAFTA when we really saw it begin to hit hard, but it had been happening since the 80s, but it started hitting hard in the 90s, right? That's kind of when the Democratic Party began to change. Bill Clinton, that's when that began to change. That's when deindustrialization began to hang. The Rust Belt was starting to become obvious at that point. I think that's when it started to really happen more than anything else. And it hasn't gone back at all. And I think this is why people say a lot of people are anti-migrant, right? Oh, I hate the migrants coming. We got to throw them all out. We're going to get rid of migrants. And I'm saying the same thing. Whether you want to get rid of migrants or not, doesn't matter. The country needs the migrants because they know how to do things, how to build things. They're the laborers.
It's so true. That part that's fucking true. It's like they're gonna steal our jobs, motherfucker. You can't even do that job. Why are you playing?
That's what I'm saying. I don't mean to be mean. Again, I know I sometimes say things people don't like, but I'm saying what's real. What's real is the country. I see it in New York. If the immigrants left New York City, this city could not function. Like it literally could not function. It could not function. Migrants do so many jobs here because our American kids won't do it. To your super chat's point, we've taught our kids for the past 30 years, 40 years, the only answer to success is a college degree and sit behind a computer. Now that is a way to success, but it is by no means the only way to success. There are many ways to have success. But
not only they call it successful, they insinuated that it's the more dignified path to success.
Correct. Also,
which
that's
is
true.
even worse.
Yes.
Because there's nothing wrong with not only is there not anything wrong with manual labor, I would say it's almost advantageous. You can have all the brains in the world, but if you don't have the application skills, what does that even matter? Right?
Yes. And you know John McWhorter, he's a Columbia professor, usually on the left, but actually wrote an entire thing about one of the things if you want to help the Black community in America, stop trying to force black kids who are unhappy without fathers into college, and instead encourage them to go to trade school, to find other men, find other male role models, to use their hands, learn how to be men, and then they can become great in their own way.
You can always go back. You can always go back and get a 4-year degree, people.
Yes,
always.
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. I agree.
100%. People look at me crazy when I say, I'm like, no, I'm being serious. You can always go back. It's always there. Like, well, but why can't you go and get your vocational after? Well, but if you get your vocational first, which would take maybe 6 months to a year, you can start working, and like now you have experience. So now I'm going to get my 4-year degree, and I know exactly what I want to do with it, versus me finding out what I want to do with it my junior year after I just wasted 2.5 years doing. You know what I'm saying?
I joined the Marine Corps at 17.
Holy
right? Yeah, Marine Corps at 17. At 21 years old, it was 1989, and I had a choice. I could either head over to Angola, or I can go get a college degree. So I re-enlisted, and I got a college degree.
You was a deployment away from speaking Portuguese too, huh?
Yes, yes. So I was ready to go to Angola, and I said, I have two choices. I can go do that. And I thought to myself, I'll be 3 years older. I have a lot of money in my pocket, but that I still won't have any good skill set. Like, I was in the Marine Corps, so I knew how to like do things Marines do, which was great, but I didn't have any skill set I could use. So I went to college. And now I was a terrible high school student, embarrassingly bad. I barely graduated. It's why I joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense for the Marine Corps. That makes sense.
Yep, it's true. But when I got out, when I went to college, I went to college as a Marine. I re-enlisted, and Marine Corps paid for my college. So, but at that point, to your point, I was ready. My head was in the right spot. I had a 3.8 GPA. I went from barely graduating high school to a 3.8 GPA. Why? Because I was ready. My head was there. I wanted it. I paid attention. I tried to do well. And everybody knows, if you want something, you do better at it.
Very true. Yeah. When I was in the military, so I was actually a great high school student. However, as disciplined as I was, I probably still wasn't as disciplined as I should have been, because like my talent was carrying me a lot. Cause like I feel like American school is not that difficult once you figure out how to hack it. It's just whether or not you have somebody around to do the work, or help you do the work, or rather force you to do the work. And in my case, my mom was not having C's or B's in the house, at least for me. And I was a competitive person. So it just became a point of, I just want to get a 3.6, 3.7, just because I want to beat as many people as possible. But when I got to college, I could still do the same thing. However, the way I navigated college was different, because I knew what I wanted out of it before, because of things that I learned from, I won't say that I learned them from the military, but I learned them from some of my mentors that I got in through the military. And I'm not saying that you can't get those through any other means, but because I didn't grow up with my father in my home, and I didn't have any male role models around, that was the way. That's where I got it from. I had my godfather.
Same thing.
But my godfather was in the military too, so it's not like it wasn't any. My godfather was the one who actually helped me retire and get 100% disability. So like he was in the military because he had a similar situation growing up. But it is important to have those role models. But like I said, and like you said, if you can go get that vocational degree, especially if you have an interest in something. If I would have went back and did it all over again, there might have been a couple of things along the way that I would have changed, because I had the ability to get my vocational degree while still in the Army. Probably would have done that in the past if I knew better. And because there's just so much you can do with it, even if it's starting a business later on that you're not even personally participating in, you're just running it, but you know how it should be ran and what your workers should be doing because you've already done the work. Right. So,
yes, absolutely.
I want to talk, because we actually had this conversation on your show, and I was saying how big of a deal Michigan is going to be coming up for various reasons. And right now it's looking
not looking good for Harris.
It is not. It says Trump gained slim lead in the polls in Michigan. It's a Political article. Let me pull it up real quick. I should switch this over.
I gotta tell you though, the other day I'm on a show and the guy's like, well, what's going to happen? If will independents, throw this, will they affect the election? Will they throw it to Harris or throw it to Trump? And I said, I hope they're a spoiler. That's good.
Yeah, right.
I hope they are. Right. And look, I'm a libertarian, but Jill Stein's killing it. I want a third party more than I want a libertarian party. I want a third party. Right. And Jill Stein's killing it. Good for her. She's taking it from Harris. There's no tomorrow. Go on, Jill. Do your thing.
So the polls conducted from the 3rd through the 7th that were released on Wednesday found that in a hypothetical two-way matchup, Harris leads Trump by 3 percentage points in Pennsylvania, 49% support to 46%. Trump, meanwhile, leads by 3 percentage points in Michigan, 50% to 47%. Now, this Michigan point is my big deal because this is in a hypothetical two-way matchup. Yep. However, they can hypotheticalize all the hell they want to. This ain't a hypothetical. It's not a two-way matchup. And the reason I bring that up is because of this little tidbit.
Can easily take 6 figures worth of votes. Easily take 100,000 votes. Easy.
So,
and 100,000 votes, that could right there be the end of it.
Speaking of that, we got this news this week. So support for Jill Stein.
There we go.
The Green Party is surging. Americans are using the red line against genocide to vote for Greenstein in November. This is a survey of Muslim voters in Michigan. 40%. Jill Stein has 40% of the Muslim vote in Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if y'all realize that will lose Kamala the election. Not Michigan, not just the election.
Yes, you're not wrong.
Bro, I don't know when any third party has gotten 40% of any demographic.
Yep.
Absolutely. I don't give a damn what level it is.
Absolutely. I'm with you. So go on, Jill. Do look, someone's got to make some impact here, right? RFK Jr. dropped out. He's not going to be able to get a third party, right? Chase Oliver's not raising the money. He's not going to get a third party. Cornel West not raising the money. He's not going to get a third party. Well, Jill Stein, what do they say in Star Wars? You're my only hope. that's what I got. That's what I got left.
Right. Hey, look, remember what I was telling you the other day? I couldn't find it at the time, but I was saying like, oh no, like actually if there was a scenario where a third party candidate could actually potentially win the state or still a state, it would be Michigan. Yep. This is what I was talking about because like it ain't so if you're talking about like maybe Muslim voters in Alabama, this isn't that big of a deal, right? But this is Muslim voters in a state with hundreds of thousands of Muslim voters, people in a state where the genocide that has swung this Muslim vote to such a degree already caused Joe Biden to lose a precinct to uncommitted. Yes. That happened already. Yes. That was in a primary process. Okay.
Absolutely.
So fast forward, Kamala promises to double down. She knows she needs to win this state. So she already told everybody there, all the Muslims there have leverage over me at this point. All the Muslims and their allies, rather, have leverage over me. And she decided to double down. And they're like, okay, so you think that this is a fucking game. All right, bet. Jill.
Well, 40%. That's not enough for her to win the state. Right?
No, that's not enough. No, that alone, no, it's not enough to win the state. No.
Yes. But it is big enough to make an impact where people are going to be talking about that for years. Yes. And this is only an if, this could happen. If Jill Stein were to take all her money, and she won't do this because they don't do this. It's the plan I've been talking about for years. All her money, all her energy, everything, and throw everything into Michigan and get 1 or 2 big donors, she can take Michigan, but she'll never do it.
Yeah, she won't do that. Yeah, she won't do that. Because she also wants to, it would be cheating other states who because you know how third party stuff works. You need to
I know. My point is, and you're right, but they're wrong. The actual answer is we've been doing this for 50 years, playing this 50 state stupidity and going nowhere. Just imagine for a second. It's November 5th at night and Michigan turns green. That changes everything. That makes the Green Party real overnight. The individuals don't matter because in 2025 and 2026, the Green Party will be real. They'll gain ballot elections in every state. They'll have ballot elections in 50 states in 2028. That's how it actually works. No one wants to believe me on this.
I did not know that. I didn't know that winning one state could do that.
Because everyone will see them as real. They're winners. What's the biggest issue you get from every third party? You guys can't win. You guys can't win. That's the number one thing of everything else. The number one issue. I'm not going to give you money. You guys can't win. You guys can't win. And sadly, they're right. I wish they were wrong.
I mean, even though we know why they're right because of the two-party system that's literally paying to screw up. But yeah, you're correct. Like if they won, and because there would be a story behind that in and of itself, because everybody knows like they tried to stop y'all from even being on the ballot.
Bingo, and you won a state, and you affected the election, and you won a state. No independence.
And the reason why you won it becomes a conversation. The reason why.
Imagine that. Everyone who wants to talk about Israel, imagine she wins Michigan. That becomes the issue.
Yeah. And other states start to draw red lines. They're like, well, y'all still mad about what happened with Michigan? Oh, well, y'all got us fucked up. We're going to do the same shit. All of a sudden, Indiana starts looking other ways. Ohio starts looking like they start drawing red lines. And that's that might be a good conversation to have with her. Because
it's the right answer. The right answer is look, MacArthur said
that's Green Party country. That's just Green Party country. It has been for a while.
Guy. No, there is no substitute for victory. None.
None. Yeah, that's for damn sure.
You got to win something. You got to win something. If you don't win, no one cared about what I did in 2022. Well, I didn't win anything. Nobody cares. People care about 2018 because I won ballot access. I won something in 2018. People cared about that. People didn't even know I ran in 2022. And I raised the same amount of money and fought and went to court 8 times to get in the ballot. I was with Jill Stein, Howie Hawkins, all the Green Party people trying to get on the ballot. I was with Diane Sayre trying to get on the ballot. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Why? I didn't win anything. Doesn't matter. America cares about winners. That's what they care about. They care about winners. The rest, they don't care about. And again, I don't mean to be mean when I say it. I'm just saying the truth.
Well, no, I mean, you're speaking from experience.
They care about winners.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking from experience. It's true. I mean, I've seen people. I mean, I would say that largely the duopoly has been able to maintain itself based on the reality that Americans like choosing winners because it makes them feel like they're smart. It placates their ego. It strokes them. I mean, oh, look at me. I picked the right guy. It's like, well, yeah, but they're going to start World War III. Yeah, but I picked them.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I wish you were wrong. You're right. It's true. It's true. Yes.
Man, it's wild to me. So for those of you who don't know, we talked about this before. Democrats cannot win the presidential election without Michigan. It doesn't happen. I don't believe it's happened since Bill Clinton. And the world is a lot different since Bill Clinton was president. Okay. Yes, every time a Democrat does win Michigan, it's by 50, 60,000 voters. Joe Biden lost a precinct by like 6 figures.
Yep.
That was one precinct.
Yep.
Now, here's the other thing. They just gave you a hypothetical where Trump already wins in a two-way race. It's not a two-way race. We know that. So there's that. But what also needs to be understood is Michigan's not the only state in play then. That's what we're learning. And Kamala is throwing this election away, and it seems like the Democrats are letting her, but also like it just speaks to how powerful the Israeli lobby is. That they can literally basically order you to throw a fucking election away, Larry. How much money has been spent on this election?
Sure, though. I'm not sure. Here's my issue. Harris has raised up over $1 billion. Yes, so she got a ton of money. The problem is she's a bad candidate, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, of course.
She's a bad candidate.
That's part of the problem, yeah.
She's got a good team. She's got more money. She's got more volunteers. And she's got more media allies. And she's got more a star power. So she has all the advantages. She should be able to overcome this. But so far, she's not. If I was running her campaign, I'd be like, get back in the basement. That's what I'd be saying. Get back in the basement, get sick, get back in the basement. Instead, get your surrogates out there, get Beyonce or whoever you got, get Oprah out there talking, do all that. You stay in the basement, and we'll push out this freedom and joy garbage. We'll say how the orange man is bad. We'll keep yelling orange man bad, and we'll drag your ass across the finish line.
That would have worked until she started using the black card. Started playing the black card from the jump, right? And it really last election, but definitely this election. She played the black card. So then, of course, her black card was pulled. And people say, well, what are you going to do for black people? Well, I'm not going to do anything for black people specifically, but they'll benefit. Right. It was like, well, no. You throwing out all these black faces as if that's supposed to insinuate that you are going to be uniquely beneficial for us. And like I've always said, everybody deserves a coalition. And no one fucking complains when other coalitions make demands. Correct. It's normal. That's politics. That's literally how politics works. And you're the one running on being our ally and coming from where we come from. And now you ain't got nothing for us? You can't even fake promise? Fucking lie. Larry, you lie all the time. Why you ain't gonna lie this time? You feel me? So my thing is, you've been out here marching your Indian family, right? Your Indian mom, your Indian aunt. But you've been talking about how black you are. There's a little bit of a disconnect here, 100%. Right? But even if black people don't even know how to articulate it necessarily, instinctually and viscerally, they're like, there is something that isn't making sense. How are you talking about how black you are and trying to pretend to be black and acting black and marching out Oprah, marching out Magic Johnson, black men for Kamala, but where the black photos at?
That's my issue. Look,
where did they be?
I was raised by a white mom, right? And I know there's an issue in the black community. I know I was raised as a young guy. I was raised in the black community. As an older teen, I was raised in the white community. So I raised in both sides of that, right? So I know there's a difference between being raised by a black mom and a white mom. But I say it. I don't pretend that I'm super black. I'm not super black. I don't say I am, right? I am black. Clearly I am. Clearly I've had the experience. Clearly I've dealt with that. But I'm not super black. Only half my family is black.
That's what Obama did. He got out ahead of it.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, both of these unique. In fact, he made the argument that having a white mom while being black in his community and being around a bunch of white people actually shaped him and helped him actually get more in tune with the black experience, because he was figuring out, oh shit, apparently, even though I thought there wasn't a difference, I am different than these people. Yeah. And that helped shape him going forward. And his blackness never was called into question.
Yes. I remember people judging me, white side of the family, white friends, judging me based upon things like my hair.
Yeah.
Right. Which doesn't happen if you're white.
Exactly. Yeah. My sister's family was didn't like my brother and I, even though my brother's whiter than you, and I'm the darkest out of all my siblings. Half of my siblings are white, but we were the ones with the black mom. So we were gangsters. And I was like, what? Where the fuck did he get that? Which was even crazier because it turns out that he was actually an OG. He was actually a gangster. He was doing all the shit. That was the wildest shit. He was literally doing all the shit that he thought that me and my brother were guilty of. It was the most bizarre shit ever. But that helps shape your experience. And the problem is we don't know who Kamala Harris is. And with black people, whether or not they will admit it, but I know the Southern black people will admit it, they want to know about your family. Or they want to know if you are willing to talk about your family. In California, they always say they want to know where your grandma stay. Basically, that's how they know who you are. That's how they know if they can trust you. But you are being you're overtly promoting the life you had with your mom while not even mentioning your father, whose black side you're using to run on.
Yes.
And it's can you at least give us an explanation? Can you at least give us that? Because what she could do is, she could turn into a fucking sob story about how the divorce between her mom and dad caused her to be estranged from that side. That would work.
Yep.
Damn, it's damn, that's crazy. So you're trying to learn how to live this black experience, but you don't even have somebody with that experience to help guide you through the process. That fucking sucks, man. Especially when you have to move to a different country like Canada, and now you're in a different. Bro, she could have, but nope, she's hiding it.
Yes,
and everyone can feel it. Black, she's polling 77% with black people. Horrible. Right now,
terrible,
below 60. Terrible. That is terrible.
Yes. Terrible. Yes.
And sinking. Yes. You will not win. You have to have 90+% to have a chance.
Well, here's the funny part, right? If you go back about a week and a half before that polling came out, Harris was ahead in most of the swing states. I think 6 out of 7 she was ahead in the swing states. 6 out of 7 she was. Now 1 week of polling, Trump's ahead. And I think all or 6 out of 7, maybe no, not North Carolina. I don't. One of those two. I think he's Trump's also now ahead. Is he? I think he's ahead in the 6 or 7 of them. But in both cases, it's within the margin of error.
Yes,
this is a close race, regardless of which way it goes. This is going to be close, and this will be decided by 50,000 people.
Yep, and those 50,000 people probably live in Michigan.
Yes.
Hey, look, like it's crazy how so like yeah, election math can be complicated, but sometimes it's not.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever Hillary didn't campaign in those states, those swing states in the middle of the country, and everybody's like, you should probably campaign there, right? Because those states will determine the outcome of the election.
Yep.
And then like they did determine the outcome of the election, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. We couldn't have seen this coming." And everybody's like, "No, we literally all told you take your ass to those states and campaign because you will lose." And you were like, "Nah, fuck y'all." Like basically is what happened. So this is what I'm talking about when I say like, bro, have you seen this clip?
I don't think so. Have I?
All right, prepare yourself.
Okay.
Have empathy, man? For the suffering of other people. Have no sense of purpose? Have empathy?
Oh, I see.
She would bring out her new improved Jamaican accent.
Got it. Well, she got it all down. I like that. Look, I want to bring up what one of your commenters mentioned. They asked the question about, how do you move forward if Jill Stein does this great thing I'm saying? What does Jill Stein do? If Jill Stein actually were, again, you're right, Niko, she's not going to. But if she were to just all of a sudden decide, you know what, I'm going to focus and try to win Michigan, and by some magic, she wins it. If that were to happen, she can just bask in the glory of what she did. She could just take some interviews. If any party, Green, Libertarian, any party won, what would happen is talent and money would flood to the party. If you remember, they were asking people like Jesse Ventura to run Green, other people to run Green. And they said the same thing. If you can give me ballot access and money, I'll do it. Otherwise, I can't do it. It's wasting my time.
So Jesse Ventura, just for clarification, Jesse Ventura didn't run Green at the time because he couldn't leave his health care plan because he was working with RT at his own show and his wife was sick. And he couldn't afford to leave the show, lose the health care for the year while he was campaigning, and then go back. Like it was like a life and death situation.
I believe you 100%. But what I'm saying is the things they always say. I use them as an example.
Generally. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. We need ballot access and money. Well, if you won a state, that would come flooding in. People would want to come. Consultants would come. Donors would come. Talent would come. Kucinich might run again. I mean, these types of people would start coming back, right? Kucinich would want to be a campaign manager again, right? They would all start coming back, and that's my point. Victory is what draws people. So it wouldn't be that all of a sudden Jill Stein would be the greatest in the world and she'd be president next time. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that victory could set her up.
Well, rather victory would keep people around because she had, I mean, she's like Macklemore. She has some pretty big names supporting her right now. But victory would keep them activated and organizing for the next election. So I do agree with that.
And I know this because in 2018, when I won ballot access in New York State, we went from 15 local affiliates out of 62 counties to 30 in 1 year. We doubled our local ground game in 1 year. We went from 7,000 registered libertarians to 30,000 registered libertarians in 1 year. The next year, we went from 0 victories to 107 elected libertarians in New York State in 2019. Those numbers are accurate.
What?
Do your homework, do it. Yes, 107. Because I practice what I preach. When I got ballot access, I then covered the state again. I supported local candidates because I didn't think I was going to become the governor.
You didn't leave them hanging.
I was doing it so I could get the grassroots up and running. And that happened. And that's why in 2020, New York State destroyed my party with all the new ballot access laws. New York State will lie and tell
you were putting people in a position to actually make real change. Like,
correct.
Not like, because that's where it happens at really at the end of the day is the local level. And if you could have taken New York over from inside and displaced some of the because I would have imagined it would have been the Republicans who had the most to lose, right?
It was mostly Republicans, but also Democrats.
Of course. Yeah, but I'm saying but they were the most susceptible because their hold on the states or the localities of the state is already kind of like fragile to some degree because of how dominant the Democrats are. But if the libertarians come in and y'all start organizing, winning seats, winning Senate and state seats, or state Senate and state assembly seats, like that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
Well, we hadn't even, to be forward, in 20, we didn't get to that level. We were only at the local level, city council. Yeah. We hadn't got to that yet. But we
are setting up the stage for it, though.
Correct. Right? I set the stage for that, and they will lie and say, well, they did it to get rid of the Working Families Party. No, they didn't. The Working Family Party is still there, still supports. Nothing changed.
Hold up, they said they didn't get it. Also, that's not there. I don't know why people always think the Working Families Party is like the Libertarian. It's not the same thing. They just go out and campaign for people, and then people put their fucking name on the ballot line. That's it.
Correct. That's all I do. Yes.
Like, I worked for the Working Families Party.
You know,
keep telling people that. Like, they're not a fucking party. Stop. Like, they just call themselves that. I don't. Correct. And if you're not, I guess if you don't live there, you don't know. But like, it's not an actual party. Y'all wouldn't, nothing that you guys would do would get rid of the Working Families Party. In fact, you could run as a libertarian and have a ballot line for the Working Families Party if they chose to endorse you.
Correct. Yes. Could happen. Yes.
Like, hypothetically speaking, and it would actually benefit both parties in that particular case. The only thing that adding Working Families Parties does is gives you a better chance to win and gives you a better chance to have more resources. That's it. I don't know why people think that like they're a party, but it's the Democrats lying. You know, that's what they do. Let me check out some of these super chats real quick. In the 1990s, Bill Clinton helped connect U.S. industrialists with China to generate re-election funds while facilitating the transfer of industry from the U.S. to China. Yes, which is why I always say, and my leftist friends get mad at me, but I got to repeat it again. We can't call China a communist country whenever they engage in rabid capitalism to get to where they got. I'm just saying, like, we got to call a spade a spade. You can like what the result is because they definitely played the shit out of the U.S. Clearly. They planned ahead and we did not, and they got the winning end of that bargain. But like, that was a capitalist move. So, but you're 100% correct, Sparky. Larry's right about replacement parties focusing on one state to be instantly legit. I think that's how the Republicans replaced the Whigs. I think more or less.
Yes, they started winning individual states. Yes, the last third party, people said third parties have a win. Republican Party was third party.
Oh, that's right. They were the third party. I forgot.
Yes.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, that's true.
Were based off one thing early on, and that was getting rid of slavery, abolition.
Oh, right? And keeping the union together.
They weren't. That wasn't their initial
that wasn't even an issue at the time. That's right.
Correct. At the time, it wasn't an issue. At the time, it was actually abolition. What it's saying, Green Party could be Israel. That could be the thing that gets them going, right? And then it moves to whatever, like Republicans move to whatever. Libertarians could be something like for maybe anti-war, could be end the Fed, could be sound money, whatever. I don't, just one party do something, goddammit. That's all.
Yeah, just do something. Hey, man, I'll tell you on that one. Yes. Until ranked choice voting becomes common, the U.S. system will always settle into two or fewer parties. So I call them replacement parties instead of third parties. By the way, you better thank a union member. I hear that, man. You know what, though? I will say ranked choice voting can still result, however, in a uniparty situation. So it's like it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that is a major step. That is a major step. You know, in Brazil,
Maine and Alaska and New York.
Yeah, and New York has it too, right? The city,
New York has
but
it,
only for the state, though.
Yes, the city has it only for primaries.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
Yeah, correct.
Kind of defeats the fucking point, right? But that's the most Democrat shit ever. Let's feign democracy, like make everybody think that we're actually showing progress. It's like, well, with this system, the same exact people who would have won before still keep winning. It's just it's just more steps and more costly now. It makes no sense, bro. Yep. It makes no sense. Maybe Donald Harris isn't Kamala's biological dad, and he married her mom to make her an honest woman. Kamala's biological dad is just some random Caucasian. I don't know. Damn, that's actually a wild conspiracy, but it's not that insane. I mean, people have done that before. I mean, my biological grandfather was not the one who raised my dad. My grandma got married to my grandfather whenever she was like 2 or 3 months pregnant with my dad. So, and I didn't know this until I was an adult. So, yeah, that was a crazy ass surprise. Especially
I got a worse surprise for you.
What's that?
I didn't know I was adopted till I was 30.
Holy shit! What? That's crazy, bro.
My
parents, bro. They be dropping, and they probably drop that shit on you so casually. That's what they be doing, man.
Because this is me with the man who raised me until he died when I was 11. When he died because my mother had divorced my father and married him when I was 2. He raised me until I was 11. I call him my father in every way because he's the man who raised me. So that's what I call my father. And he was in the Air Force. My My adopted father, who I thought was a biological father, was in the army. He had met my mom in Germany. My mom is German. If you look behind me, you'll see a German flag behind me and another flag behind me. The American flag is my father's flag. When he died, they gave the flag to her. When she died, she gave it to me. And that's German flag was my mother. So my parents are right behind me always. So, so I said, I'm going to go check out my father because I'm getting older. I want to see about my background. I want to go find him. She goes, don't bother finding him. I said, why? She goes, you're adopted. I was like, God damn. So yes, okay. I was 30 when I found that out. So this is the worst part. Like, I've always thought I was German because my mom was German. So I speak a little German. I have family in Germany. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm not. So I do the ancestry test, like 3 or 4 of them to make sure I'm right. And guess what? I'm German.
Oh, well, shit. Sometimes
even weirder.
You.
Even weirder.
That's kind of crazy.
Yes,
that's kind of crazy.
The black side of my family comes from the slave trade. Currently, where it is in Nigeria and Cameroon, the Hausa tribe is where my family comes from on my black side, and on my German side, I come from southern Germany. Not where I thought northern Germany. I come from southern Germany. So that's my.
That's so wild. Yes. Yeah, man. I found out because, my grandma was, so this is like the first time we met my sister, and my grandma was talking to my mom, and my mom says, well, because I think we were talking about how much my sister looks like us, which was like kind of weird, and how she acted like us, but we hadn't actually met her yet, which was bizarre. And my mom was like, well, your dad's the same way. We're like, what are you talking about? Well, kind of how he acts exactly like your grandpa and walks like him and talks like him and does all the same things as him, but they're not related. I say, well, hold on, what the fuck? What are you talking about? What do you mean they're not related? It's like, you know, your grandpa isn't your biological grandfather, right? We said, excuse me? And my grandma was like, Serena, you did not just fucking do that.
Oh, man.
Because that was the one thing my grandpa was a very, very like cool, tranquilo. He was like a very calm guy, never requested much. He only thing he ever asked was that no one tell my brother or I that he wasn't our biological grandfather because he didn't want us to feel like we were going to be treated different anyway. Which is a fair request. But that was the only thing he asked from anybody in our whole family.
She had to say something.
She's like, oh, I thought you would have known. They don't look alike. We're like, we always thought they did look alike. I mean, because you can't tell, especially when somebody, because my dad's brothers look like him. So it's like not that big of a difference. Like, right? And my dad walks like my grandpa, talks like my grandpa, bowls like him, play baseball like him, drives like him. We didn't know. And she just like, well, I thought you would have been able to know. Like, we thought you knew. I'm like, that is so crazy, Mom. I cannot believe you just dropped that shit out of nowhere. And you know, like, and then my grandma later on, maybe like 10 years later, I guess she saw me on TV, and she was like, you know, I was going to tell you, but I can't remember if you knew or not. But you are so handsome. You look just like your grandfather. I was like, which one? She was like, oh, okay, so you do know, right? I'm talking about your biological grandma. Yeah, I was like, yeah, Grandma, I remember the whole situation. She was like, oh, okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if I told you or not. But yeah, I never really wanted to tell you because my grandpa passed away recently. So I never really wanted to tell you that. But yeah, if you ever were trying to figure out who you look like now, because I admittedly, as I was getting older, I was not recognizing myself in the mirror. It was like the whole thing I was going through. I'm like, and so ironically, I've never met my biological grandfather on either side. Wow. And apparently I look like both of them.
Well, there we go. Okay.
Well, which fucking sucks when you have no reference point.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, man, it's a crazy space. It's crazy how grandparents and parents would just drop some shit on you so casual, like, oh, well, yeah, this man,
way off the rails, didn't it?
Yeah, welcome. This is For the People podcast. We talk about people shit.
I love it. I love it. That's good. I'm not complaining. I'm just surprised. I'm not complaining about it though. It's all good.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do. I wanted to show you really quick. 60 Minutes, speaking of media, actually edited one of Kamala's.
Oh, I heard about that.
Bro, yeah. I was like, that can't be that big of a deal because everybody would have noticed. And so they wouldn't be that stupid. Yeah, nah, it's the media. So, and I almost gave that guy credit for doing a decent interview. I almost gave him credit the other day for doing a decent interview. And I said, you know what?
When you compare to the other interviews, it was relatively.
I guess from that perspective.
Relatively,
so,
yes.
So it's just side by, or rather, not side by side, but the bottom or the top is what the actual answer is. The edited version is completely different. Damn near sound like AI.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Did you hear a little bit of a difference in?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
That's insane. And I'm like, I don't even know if that was like actually her at this point. Like, was it her or was that an AI? Like the first, I'm like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know what was what. Because
what she should have just said is, look, we're not going to stop bombing. Can we move on? That's what, at least that would have been honest.
But you can't say it. You got to put this in the context. This is the context. I just learned Jill Stein has 40% of the Muslim vote in a swing state that I'm already losing by 3 points.
Ah, good point. You're right. Yeah.
So that's what makes the edit even more nefarious.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, she can't say that.
And 60 Minutes isn't really known for doing that kind of incredulous type of they don't do that usually. That's one of the reasons I like 60 Minutes for a long time.
Democracy's on the line. So it's okay. Democracy's on the line. Don't you know that? What's wrong with you?
You know, it's crazy that you say it like that because I always picture a meme where it's like they justify everything they do by saying democracy online.
Correct.
It's like it's at the point where they're literally like, yeah, we have to take your democracy away. Why?
Yes,
because democracy's on the line. That's why we had. But when you really think about it, like that's what we just witnessed with the Democratic primary. I mean, shit. Before Kamala, when it was Joe Biden, RFK, like they were cheating RFK off the rip. And it was like, why?
Marianne Williamson
can't have any,
Marianne Williamson too.
Yeah, they were cheating Marianne Williamson as well. But with RFK, it was even more nefarious because of how like his numbers were problematic for them. Like it was visibly evident he could cause problems for them and expose. Because if he kept doing well, it would have forced Joe Biden to address him in some way, form, or fashion, which Biden obviously we know was not capable of doing so in any cohesive or coherent manner. So fast forward, you got. Kamala's name didn't appear on the ballot. Everybody keeps saying, well, they were running as a ticket. That's not how fucking primaries work, guys. That's not how that works.
That's how it works.
Like, truthfully, there used to be a separate primary for the vice president. You didn't just select one. So, but that vice presidency doesn't get selected until the convention. So no, they were not running on a joint ticket. It was Biden's name. You pick Biden. But obviously, as we all know now, they didn't pick Kamala. They get to the convention. Before the convention, they have some fucking secret phone calls. And everybody's like, how could y'all do this? And then like defend democracy because democracy's on the line. What do you mean? Yes. We had to take your democracy away, or else Trump would have done it. Who would you rather have your democracy taken away by, Larry? Us or Trump?
I feel a whole lot better about you beating me in the head with this other guy beating me in the head. That sounds terrible. I'd rather you do it.
Bro,
here, Niko, take the bat. I feel better with you hitting me.
Yeah, basically. It's so insane. What's your views on this situation with Iran? I want to show you this Piers Morgan clip in a second, but I want to know how you feel about just like the way Israel has been dealing with the Middle East and Iran's response. Because I feel like this is kind of destined to happen at some point. Iran was not going to sit back and allow Israel to keep bombing, killing, because if you look at the trajectory, where was the destination? They're going to end up in Iran. I mean, they already started bombing Iran. They already bombed Iran in general, so that happened. But like when you look at the idea of a greater Israel, which is what they're pushing for, Iran comes into play. And Iran, being the prideful nation that they are not going to cede any territory. And it also, to me, looks like they're overplaying the games of the West, which has effectively been allowing Israel to do it what the hell they want to, for the most part, without being checked.
I think, to be very forward, I see people who are saying that Iran is the powerhouse of the area and they're going to do all these great things. I don't see that as true. I think Iran has two problems, maybe three, depending upon how Russia and China act.
Okay.
One, they do have internal conflict. They have internal conflict. And if
how big? I mean, well, you got to define it, because every country has internal conflict. Like Russia has internal conflict, but ain't nobody beating Putin.
Correct. And I'm not sure it's the same thing in Iran. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's three potential problems. I don't know how bad their internal conflicts are. They may be very bad. I don't know. I know many average Iranians who come to America and leave and come back, they like Americans. They hate our government, but they like us. They just hate our government. So many of them want to have a more Americanized Iran. How bad is that?
But Iran is actually pretty westernized, though. You know that, right? Iran is pretty westernized. Like,
they can crack down in 5 seconds in Iran, where you don't see the same thing in many of the states. You see it in China, they can crack down whenever they want. You see it in Russia, they can crack down whenever they want, right?
But then how would that be different than the U.S.?
U.S. doesn't overtly do it. No, it does not overtly do it. No. Not at all.
We don't. We just had, I don't know if you were here, but in 2022 or 2021, I can't remember which, I think it was both. We were given curfews supposedly because of protests, and then because of COVID. And if you violate those curfews, your ass is taken to jail. I'm not really sure if you lived in the same 2021, 22 that I left.
Oh, no, I did, but again, but the difference was it's not the same is all I'm saying, and I don't know how bad theirs is. We have an issue here too. We can't fight wars forever. We can fight proxy wars forever. But at one point, even we get tired of it, right? Even we get tired of it at one point. So I don't know how bad that is. That's my issue. I don't know how bad the internal strife is.
So
second piece I'm concerned about is them physically moving troops, materials, whatever the case may be, over to get there. That is a huge challenge for Iran.
Why is that?
They'd have to cross the open ground of Syria. And with the way the Americans work right now, they would devastate any troop movements at all. Troops who have to trickle across. And that's a challenge. Not the end of the world, but a challenge. You see it in Ukraine right now. Ukraine is an ally.
That's because Ukraine and the US are allies.
No. What I'm saying is when the Ukrainian forces move, you watch the Russians devastate them from the air while they move. That's what I'm saying. Sense. So even as they move, they get devastated.
Yeah,
they have to move a lot of troops.
That's Russian and Ukrainian airspace, but that's a completely different than, like, the U.S. isn't dominating Syria's airspace like Russia's dominating Ukraine's airspace.
Okay, if the Iranians were actually going to make a physical assault in any way, shape, or form upon Israel, were they going to cross over Syria or cross over Iran, I will bet you any amount of money you want, America will simply take over the airspace by force and bomb the hell out of those units.
So my question is, how does that go on with Yemen right now with the Red Sea?
What do you mean?
How is that's what Russia? I mean, Yemen said, y'all ain't getting shit through the red here. Y'all not getting shit through here.
Okay,
but that's my point. It's like, But Yemen said that y'all not gonna get shit through here. Everybody's like, well, the U.S. is just gonna build a coalition, just bomb the shit out of those little boats because Yemen ain't gonna do shit. Yeah, they gave up because Yemen won. Yemen got the Red Sea on lock.
Okay, that's what America cannot stop, and we prove we can't stop in Afghanistan for 20 years. We can't stop those type of light forces. My point was, are they gonna physically march armies? That's gonna get destroyed. If you're saying they're gonna sprinkle people through? Yeah, of course they can. We can't stop the small units from coming across. We can't stop the Houthis. We couldn't stop the Afghans. But you're talking about an Iranian army marching across an open field in some way, shape, or form, or driving across, or mechanized across. That army gets destroyed. That army does not go anywhere. That army is eliminated. The U.S. Air Force will destroy it. That's what I'm saying. So that's a challenge for them. It isn't that easy. And the third piece is rockets alone can't take over a country. So again, I'm not saying,
but you're also not trying to take over Israel. So you got to remember that you're not trying to take over Israel. If I'm Iran, that shit's out the window. I don't want a regime change. I don't want Israel to exist because they're trying to destroy us and all of our neighbors and our cousins.
And that is my point. Regardless of what you do, it is not going to be easy. That's all I'm saying. If that happens, unless it's Turkey. Turkey changed the equation. Turkey has a far more powerful air force. Turkey has a far more bloodied units. Turkey can march units across Lebanon in 5 seconds and engage the Israelis. Iran cannot easily engage the Israelis in any way, shape, or form. It's not an easy task to engage.
Why would Turkey? So why would Turkey be able to march armies across Lebanon without
a much shorter way
have...
It's a much shorter distance to simply get across. Plus, Turkey has an air force that can fight. Iran has no air force that can fight us. Their air force cannot fight us realistically.
I feel like you might be overestimating a little bit our air force. I personally feel like our air force is a little bit overestimated.
There are 2 carriers in the Mediterranean. 2 carriers. 2 carriers carry a lot of trained pilots. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
More than what Iran has.
But I just feel like, I mean, having an air force and having like the tech, or excuse me, rather the equipment and all that, like that's all well and good. But like they had Israel had our F-16 jets, and Iran just bombed the shit out of half of them. And by the way, Israel didn't even know they had the capability until last week.
I'm not saying they can't do it, but I've heard people be like, they can just destroy them. I'm saying it's a challenge. It is not a just destroy them. It is a hard thing. Fighting Israel from Iran is not an easy thing to do. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's freaking hard.
So here's the deal. So I don't think it's an easy thing to do, right? So first of all, because when fighting a war, when your side is actually concerned about the casualties on both sides, immediately puts you at somewhat of a disadvantage, right? That's one of the things that makes Israel so dominant to some degree, because they don't give a fuck. They literally will put bombs in pagers and send your mom and dad to the hospital. They don't care. So there's that. However, we once again have to readdress this question that no one seems to know the answer to. Does anybody know how capable or not capable Iran's military is? And do you not think that that's by design? Because I'm gonna tell you how I know we don't know, right? Before you, I'm gonna tell you how I know we don't know. The reason we went into Iraq, like gun ho, like we just knew we were gonna get the result that we wanted, was because we understood Iraq, we understood Saddam, we knew their capabilities, we knew what their strengths were, we knew what their weaknesses were. Hell, we helped arm them to some degree, and we understood everything about them. So we're like, this is going to be our estimated losses, but we're going to be able to win. The reason we went to Afghanistan, we already understood the terrain, we already understood the territory. Hell, we trained Osama and Al Qaeda, so we knew what the peak capability was. Even with Libya, same thing. It took a little bit, but they got Gaddafi up out of there after getting Chad involved. But with Iran, or even with Syria, we had a relationship with Syria with Assad's dad, and we had been there, and we had, before everything went south, we understood what their capabilities were. That is not the case with Iran. Why do you think we sent Iraq? We sent Saddam. We're like, hey man, so really quick, you want to go hit Iran for us real quick and just let us know how that shit goes? Yeah, it didn't go well. If you remember. And so we keep trying to we put sanctions on Iran. That didn't work. We assassinating generals. We're doing everything we can except doing the shit that we are normally accustomed to doing when we think we know what you are capable of. The problem with Iran specifically is that the United States, even though I feel like almost no military, like none of the higher ups, like the chiefs of staff will admit it, they have zero idea what Iran's capable of. And they know it.
Here's the thing to remember, and you know this as well as I do. It is very rare that Americans lose a battle. We lose the war all the time, but it's very rare we lose a battle. Any given battle, and a battle, right? Oh, there's a battle over a city, battle over a town, battle over an area. It is rare that Americans, we do sometimes, but it's very rare. We almost always win the battles. We lose the wars all the time, but the individual battle, we win all the time. So my point is, it is not going to be easy for Iran to make any type of physical assault on Israel.
We win the battle. We win the battle whenever over the last maybe decade, we win battles when it's predominantly a civilian population. We're catching people off guard and we're overwhelming them with technology that they can't keep up with.
That's been true,
we have intel, by the way. Normally, we have intel, and the reason we have that intel is normally because we were the ones who fucking established this terrorist organization. We established this caliphate. We established this group.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, but that's still going to exist today
with Iran. Huh?
It's still going to exist. First off, we've been winning most of our battles since World War II, right? We lost battles, but we've won most of our battles since World War II, many since Korean War, since Vietnam. We won almost every battle in Vietnam. Not all of them, but we won almost every battle, and we lost Vietnam, and we won almost every battle. We won almost every battle in Afghanistan and lost the war. We won almost every battle in Iraq and lost the war, but we win the battles. And what I mean by this, that's what makes it tough for Iran to make that move, because we win most of the battles.
But you win battles in countries that aren't. Listen, you gotta. So with Afghanistan, was Syria sending troops and Iraq sending troops into Afghanistan to help? No, that wasn't the case.
No, I don't think so.
You get what I'm saying? Like with Iran, there would be collaboration, but beyond the fact that we don't know, this would be the first engagement with a Middle Eastern country that massive where we don't know what they're capable of. We would be finding out, kind of like what happened with Vietnam. We would be finding out whenever they decided to launch or send boots on ground, or whenever we decide to go there, and we would find out whenever motherfuckers start getting their heads popped. That's when we would find out, unfortunately. But the difference between Iraq and Afghanistan is that Iran would have collaboration with Syria. Iran has collaboration already with Iraq. Iran has collaboration with Lebanon. So not only do we have technology and capabilities that you don't know about, but we have the collaboration between multiple countries. And you aren't stupid enough to set foot in our country because you don't know the terrain. And they did learn one thing from Vietnam: don't go into a fucking country if you don't know that terrain, because you're gonna get your ass handed to you. And the reason that
I'm not sure we're disagreeing with each other.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure we're disagreeing with each other. I'm not sure we're disagreeing. I feel like we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it won't be easy, but I think it would be easier than. I'm gonna put it like this: it's easy enough that Israel's fucking worried that they're trying to somehow revitalize the image of the prince of the son of the former Shah. Like he's gonna come in after not being in Iran for since the 70s.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell? That's kind of a desperate move. Like, why would y'all think that would even work? Because they need a regime change, but that's not going to work. Why? Because if a regime change would have worked in Iran since the Shah was removed, it would have already worked. It's like you said, how bad is the internal conflict in Iran? Is it more or less worse than other countries? I think there's a couple of metrics we can use to figure that out. Like they have elections. Okay. I would say that the internal conflict in the United States is worse.
Maybe.
I would say, I mean, you'd probably agree, right? What we're seeing right now, we got censorship, we got shutdowns, we got lockdowns, we literally have the president, right? An administration weaponizing
this is my point. Why do you think so many people are saying no boots on the ground? No boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. Because they know that America probably is not going to take another boots on the ground war. We just got out of Afghanistan, right? But Americans will accept proxy wars all day long. I wish we wouldn't, but we do. We just accept proxy war. It's fine. Throw money at it.
Most people don't know about it usually. That's kind of how that works.
But we accept proxy wars.
Yeah.
But the same point. So if their internal strife is as bad as ours or worse, how are they going to come across the border and throw their troops to fight? I don't know. And that's my question.
But it's not as bad. But it's not as bad. That's my point. Because if it was, then we would see it would be evident, and the U.S. would be able to take advantage of it. Because there has been situations, as you probably know, where Iran's internal politics did get so they were detracting from each other so much, partially because of religion, partially because of literally just the politics, and because of the Western influence there, that they were able to overthrow Mossadegh, for example. And maintain the Shah in power, which is kind of weird because Mossadegh was overthrown while there was still a Shah. But then, like, whenever the politics got bad again, there was the Iranian Revolution, which was 79-ish? Don't quote me on that.
79.
Huh?
79. That's correct.
Yeah, 79. So 79, you had the Iranian Revolution. They did it themselves, in spite of Western influence, trying to maintain that situation there. So since then, the U.S. really hasn't been able to get what they want out of Iran. They've been able to set them back, admittedly, with money and sanctions and things like that. But then, at some point, they were like, well, let's go ahead and test them. They did that with Iraq. Hey, Saddam, man, I heard they called you a bitch. Go ahead, go check them real quick. And Iran was like, pop, pop, pop.
All I'm saying is people are acting like Iran's just going to come over and smack Israel. That's not going to happen. It will be a very challenging battle war if they do it. If
I
Iran
think that people are saying that because of who else is involved. See, I don't think people are saying that because of Iran. I think people are saying that because one, Iran is a powerful nation, but it will be the first powerful nation that is also allied with nations who are ready to go to war to support them. That's why I feel like so many people are like, yeah, no, that would be the end of Israel. Not because Iran per se, but because of who comes with them.
Syria is not prepared to go to war right now. Syria is in trouble.
They're in perpetual war.
Yes, internally. They're not ready to, they're internally. Syria's broken right now. It has to rebuild itself. It's not a good spot.
But they can coordinate. But they can coordinate.
Yes, coordinate. But that's not Syria isn't a massive help. Iraq,
I disagree.
Know how good Iraq is either.
Russia already has bases and troops there. They are, and Iran will be able to set up bases and troops there.
Russia's fighting Ukraine now still.
But Russia still has troops in Syria.
Yes, but it's fighting Ukraine now still.
But what I'm saying is, so this is assuming that at some point the war between Russia and Ukraine ends. But even if not, you still have a base there.
That changes everything.
Yeah, but you have a country that neighbors Israel where I can set up bases. Now, the U.S., if they felt gully, if they felt brave enough, they could intervene within Syria. They probably wouldn't do that, though. Because if I got Iran set up shop there, I got Syria set up shop there. Excuse me, not Syria. Russia setting up shop there. And Iraq will probably also help set up shop there as well. And Syria is allowing all these major powers with a lot of missiles, a lot of anti-defense tech, and a lot of troops. Because you got to think about it. Iran military, they might be fire. But what other military do you know can train other people from other countries as effectively as Iran is trained? Iran literally had other people to kill all the terrorists in Iraq.
Okay.
It wasn't Iran. Iran, they sent their generals to help coordinate, and that was it.
As much influence as Iran has in the Middle East, so does our CIA. So the second something starts happening, our CIA starts paying their people to start all of a sudden starting up ISIS 3 or whatever is the new thing of the day, right? Al-Qaeda rebooted or whatever is
that was happening when Soleimani took out all the terrorists in Iraq. That was happening and it didn't matter.
Yes. But I'm saying now that happens again, and now with even more money. This is not easy. America will support them no matter what. That's my entire point. If they have to start dropping bombs, you're able to support. We'll just do it.
But that's easy to do if I'm in a vacuum of Syria. Yeah, in a vacuum where Syria is fighting for their lives and they don't really have any major help. Like, okay, cool. In a vacuum where Iraq is fighting for their lives in the midst of internal turmoil, like you were describing, okay, that makes sense. It's a lot easier to do that. But we are at war, we are all ready to go, and I have three major powers with major militaries and major weapons in my country set up. Your little fucking fighting force of terrorists is not going to do shit. Like, because I'm not going out on patrol. I'm not going out on patrols. Like, this isn't Iraq where America, like, which is the dumbest. I'm sure you probably agree with this. Like, one of the dumbest concepts of Iraq and Afghanistan to me was whenever they were going out on patrols because they were like, oh man, somebody's going to attack the FOB. That doesn't fucking happen. That was the dumbest shit ever. I don't know why they did it, but people would get killed in these patrols, and it was so unnecessary because 100%. That's the one place that's not going to get attacked.
That's Vietnam era stuff. That's trying to get body count. That's Vietnam era shit trying to get body count. That's all.
Exactly. 100%. Exactly. So, but my point is, that's not going to be what happens if they set up shop in Syria, for example, or Lebanon even, to go to war with Israel. You can't just pay a bunch of just random terrorists, call themselves freedom fighters or whatever, and think that you're going to even put a dent in those militaries working together.
All they have to do is give intel for American drones to blow the crap out of all that stuff and to make it almost impossible.
Hell no. You wouldn't be able to get a fucking drone through there. There's no way. When you're telling me because once again, this is me assuming Russia's going to be involved in some way. Russia.
Okay, that changes my mind. I said that. If the Ukraine war ends and Russia's involved, I changed my mind.
That's my point. And also, you're saying, the drones, let me just take out Russia again then. Even if that's the case, We don't know what Iran has. We don't know what capabilities Iran has. They can send a drone and Iran can, boop, you're gone. Sorry. You thought that your drones were capable of attacking us. That's not the case. Once again, because if it can be done so easily, why do we wait until Soleimani is in Iraq? Why do we wait? Why did Israel wait until those generals were in Syria? If you can get them in Iran, go get them in Iran. That's what you've always done.
Iran. I'm saying it's the United out of Iran, and that's my point. No. But my point is not the technology, the defense technology, the military technology wouldn't stay in Iran. Is my point. Is it travels with them? It would be with them. So if you could get them in Iran, you would get them in Iran, but you can't. So assuming that because I went to Syria with my military, not like we're going in for a meeting, no, we're going to war. You're assuming that the U.S. would be able to penetrate. Right. You get what I'm saying? I don't want to. It's all whatever. It's fine. Yes, it's fine. I got one guy saying in your comments that folks did attack the FOBs. Yes, but with mortars and bombs, they didn't charge the FOBs.
Yeah, and we could. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Yeah, and also you're better defended if you are in the FOB.
Yes,
you're not gonna fucking run over a goddamn IED in the dark, which is the dumbest shit. So many lives were lost unnecessarily. I want to show you this clip really quick. I want to know what your thoughts are. Piers Morgan. I don't know if you know.
But here for 2 hours, man. We keep talking.
Hey man, look, this is my last clip. You gotta hear this one. We just had this whole conversation about Iran. You gotta hear this one.
Okay. You yelled at me about Iran all day, so all right, I'll watch a clip.
He's kind of a masochist, so he'll have people on who actually knows more about topics than him. I don't know why he does it, but whatever. So
I saw this guy beat Piers up badly. Yeah. I saw this. He beat him up badly. I was like, damn. So he was drinking his drink, did it all smooth he was like, let me whip your ass. And he was taking a drink while he was I'm gonna whip your ass while I'm drinking. Okay.
Iran. Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Do you support Iran?
Okay. Well, let me answer your question. Iran was attacked on April the 1st, right? It was attacked. The embassy of Iran was attacked in Syria by Israel. After that, on the first occasion, they then sent missiles and drones, correct? Now, my question to you is, does Iran have a right to defend itself? And if so, what is a proportionate response? Because you see, I've been having a moral quandary about the issue. Piers Morgan, what's a proportionate response for Iran?
I'll tell you what I think about Iran. I think Iran is an unbelievably nefarious place which has been fueling Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah for many years. Itself?
First of all, Larry, I got a question. Did he just look down at his notes before responding so he could say, figure out what hyperbole he was supposed to use? What's the problem?
He's got his talking points.
He's like, first of all, let me tell you what Rupert Murdoch told me to tell you whenever you ask me this question.
with a joint
does that have right to defend
joint ideology that they want to eradicate Israel in any way they can.
Okay.
I think Iran is one of the most despicable regimes in the world. I also think that right now the Iranian regime is in serious danger.
You look completely discombobulated.
What do you mean?
You look disheveled.
I'm telling you what I think of Iran.
I'm asking you, do they have a right to defend themselves? Do you think they have a right to defend themselves? Both of you can answer the question. Do they have a right to defend? They were attacked. The sovereign nation was attacked. My question is, does it have a right to defend?
Iran has been fueling attacks on Israel now for what, 40 years?
I've been having a moral quandary about this. I've been having a moral quandary about Iran.
Have you?
Yeah, moral quandary, yes. Moral quandary, I don't know. Do they have a right to defend themselves? And if so, what is the proportionate response?
You're supporting Iran, to be clear.
I'm asking you. No,
Are you supporting Iran?
I'm not supporting. I'm anti.
First of all, before he finishes, do you feel like that would be classified as gaslighting? What, the way that Piers responded? Oh, so you're supporting Iran. That's how you feel. That's what you're saying, to be clear. Do you feel like that's gaslighting?
Is it maybe.
Because he just asked simply. Go ahead.
It's just deflection. I'm not sure if it's just deflection, right? You can ask the question,
gaslighting is deflection, though.
Right?
I would say
yes. Okay, then I would say yes. Okay.
Yeah, because it's in a way that he's trying to incriminate his character and his integrity. Are you trying to say that you support Iran? He's like, I just asked you, do they have a right to defend themselves? I'm asking you, do they have the same right to defend themselves as Israel has a right to defend themselves? And instead of saying, answering yes or no, he's like, well, you're saying you support Iran because it's meant to be a triggering point and an emotional talking point to deflect from the fact that he won't admit that he
didn't go for it at all. He didn't
He
go
did
for
not.
it all. He did not. Now,
He
what,
did not
what
bite.
Piers- now the,
Look at that!
what
Look at that smile! Look at that smirk, man.
if you sometimes just come clean, maybe Piers doesn't think that they do. And if he just did it, it would actually be better. If he just said, no, I don't support Iran at all. They have no right to defend themselves. What, you support Iran? That actually, at least now he has to respond.
Yeah, it's true. It would actually be like probably be more honest if you just would say
Honest.
that you don't believe that and then give your explanation. Yeah.
Correct.
But-
No, they're whatever. I mean, he believes it. That's fine. Whatever. I'm telling you, his view would be no, they don't, because they're this terrorist nation who's trying to kill to destroy the world and blow everybody up. They hate everybody. They're evil people. So no, they don't have right to defend themselves. Do you support this evil, horrible regime? If he responded that way, it'd be better.
That would be more honest, right? But the problem is, the thing in this clip, Piers has already become vague or very aware that he's coming off as a hypocrite and he's trying to deflect that. And it's obvious that he knows that he's coming off as hypocritical. And that's what makes it so funny. And the dude's like, I'm just gonna wait. Go ahead.
I know people who honestly feel that way about Iran. And
yeah, there are people that way.
They would absolutely go, no right. They could be wiped off the map, regime change, don't care, no rights. They would just say that. And at least you go, okay, I know where you stand.
Yeah, it's every Zionist, basically. That's how they feel.
You just say it.
Many of these organizations for my own purposes. But my question
do you support the Iranian regime?
Not unconditionally, but I support their right.
What conditions do you agree with them about?
Their right to defend themselves. Do you believe they have a right to defend themselves?
No, they're terrorists.
Oh, so they don't have a right to defend themselves.
There we go.
Iran does not have a right to defend itself.
They do, but they're not the ones.
So what is proportionate response?
He said, yeah, they do. I mean, no, they don't.
See?
I mean, yeah, they do.
Yeah. Should have just said no. Should have just said no.
Just fucking stand on your business, guy. Stand on your business.
Yes, just say it. Say it.
Just, even if you're wrong, people would have more respect. There are people that, like I said, we had this conversation the other day. I have more respect for people that I disagree with. You just tell me how you feel about a certain situation. Give me your justification, and that's it. If you're like being calculated and triangulating, and I'm just trying to not appear to be a hypocrite, I can't get down with you. I don't trust anything you say now. Everything you say is calculated.
Yes.
And with Piers, it's like everything is even more calculated when the camera's on.
Yes. Yes.
I can't rock with that. Let's check out the rest of it.
They're not the ones.
What's a proportionate response? No,
can I answer it?
You asked this question to the people.
You're just going to keep talking. Can I answer it?
What's a proportionate response?
The proportionate response to Iran is to stop them trying to destroy Israel through their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. What they've been trying to do for many years.
What is a proportionate response of Iran after the embassy was smashed and destroyed in Syria and 16 people were killed? What's a proportionate response?
Well, what about the proportionate response to everything Iran's done?
Which is against the Vienna Conventions.
What about the response to everything Iran
What
has
did
been
Iran
doing?
do to Israel? Who did they kill? Who did they?
They never killed anybody.
Who
in Iran.
did they? Hold on. Which Israeli civilian have Iran successfully targeted? Give me one name.
You don't think Iran's been responsible for any Israeli civilian dying?
I'm asking you to.
What about the way they funded Hamas?
You can both
slaughtered 1,200 people in Israel.
And by the way, I mean, if that's going to be the argument, Israel funded Hamas. So, like, wouldn't that mean Israel should be attacking Israel? I mean, the initial funding of Hamas was from Israel. So, because they thought they would be less of a problem. It didn't work out like that. But yeah, man, I just felt like that was just a hilarious clip because he's just like, okay, does a country have a right to defend themselves? Because it's also like, let's be clear, and I'm sure you would agree with this as a soldier or as a Marine rather. Like when we're at war, that's a different conversation. When we're on the battlefield and we're both shooting at each other, we knew what we signed up for.
Correct.
Whenever we signed that dotted line.
Correct.
It's not the same thing as I think I'm going to an embassy, which is supposed to be off limits from any attack in a different country to have a fucking meeting.
Yep.
I'm drinking some coffee and you just bomb the hell out of me. That's not the same thing. Not even close.
Absolutely. I'm with you completely. Dude, I'm going to have to run.
Go ahead, man. I appreciate you, Larry.
I really do.
Tell everybody where they can find you at. I got you. And I got the link in the YouTube description, by the way, for everybody.
To your audience, thank you so much for listening to me. I know some of you don't like me, but I don't care. Thank you for listening anyway. I appreciate the listening, even though you don't like me. I still appreciate it. You can check me out on Larry Sharpe on all the cool things. Larry Sharpe on Twitter, Larry Sharpe on YouTube, Larry Sharpe on Facebook. I'm on all the things. I'll see you all very soon, I hope.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. And for all of you guys, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share, like, all that good stuff. You can support the show by becoming a premium member, supporting us on Patreon. Also, you can support us on Twitter, But more than anything, subscribe, share, and like. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.